Hi guys, it's Troy and I'm coming at you from Lisbon in Portugal. Beautiful city, beautiful day. What better location to talk to you from than Lisbon, and to talk to you about getting back with your ex. Okay, now this is something that guys ask about quite a lot, obviously. Sometimes they'll come to material like mine because they've just split up with somebody and they want to try to meet new people, or there's that lingering thought in the back of their mind, can I get her back? What can I do to get her back? Cheers. And just recently, a guy that I know got in touch and he was saying that he is kind of getting back with his ex, right? He's going on dates with her, they're interacting, they're hanging out. But the difficulty is, she's also going out independently from him, and he's not quite sure where he stands. So they're in this sort of talking phase, if you like, of the getting back together, but nothing's confirmed. They're not back together, they're meeting up, but in the meantime she's doing her own thing. She's going out, she's partying, whatever, and apparently being a little bit shady in terms of giving up the details of what she's actually doing. Okay, which is her right, because they're not together, they've split up. Okay, and this is really the crux of the whole matter. As soon as, when you guys are boyfriend and girlfriend, that's one thing. There are certain expectations underlying that status. Okay, there are certain ground rules. Then there's probably an expectation there, or there was probably an expectation there, that you guys would not cheat on each other, basically, that there would be exclusivity within that relationship, all right? As soon as you split up, as soon as the bonds of the relationship are cast asunder, that imperative disappears. All right, that instruction, that foundation for the relationship goes away. It's dissolved because you're no longer together. All right, it's like coming out of a contract with somebody, and that is a problem. All right, it's a problem for you if you're still emotionally invested in that woman. Okay, it's a big problem for you, because what ends up happening is that you're in this grey area. He started talking to his girl again. He started meeting up with her for drinks or for dates or whatever. They're starting to talk about bringing the thing back into orbit again. But nothing's been agreed. And so really he's in the worst possible place that he could be emotionally, which is he's hung up on this girl. He's hung up on this woman. He's emotionally invested in this woman. She is showing him some sort of interest. She's entertaining him. But there's no agreement between them. There's no contract. They're not committed in any way. And what that means, unfortunately for him, is that she can do what the hell she wants. You know, if she wants to go to the party and stay out till 6 a.m. and hook up with some random dude, or random dudes, plural, that's absolutely her right to do that. She's not doing anything wrong because she's no longer with the guy. Okay, now the fact that they were previously together and now the guy is having conversations with her, making advances again, sort of trying to find ways to smooth things over, it doesn't change the fundamental fact that they're not together at the moment. Okay, and that puts you as the man in the very worst, as I say, emotional position that you can possibly be. Because the hardest thing for all of us, I believe, certainly the hardest thing for me, is living in a grey area. Okay, living in a grey area where nothing's confirmed, you don't really know what the deal is, and you're really emotionally hung up on this one woman, and she could be sleeping with other guys, and that's perfectly okay. It's perfectly within her right to do that. That's a really, really bad place for you to be. Okay, and anybody who is in that position, or anybody who is in danger of getting into that position, I would counsel you to avoid it at all costs, because it's going to screw with your head and it's going to damage you, and the consequences of that damage could be far-reaching, depending on how you respond and how you take it. You really need to avoid that situation. Okay. when you break up with somebody, it's very difficult. As the Walker Brothers said, breaking up is never easy. I forget the song, but anyway, it's not easy. Okay, it's difficult for both parties because you were so invested in this person, and obviously the longer you were together, probably the harder it is. You were so invested in this person, you had all these shared experiences, you got this sort of almost shared kind of DNA now. Some people have argued. So to sever that is hard, whether you want to get out of it or you don't want to get out of it. You know, she dumps you, okay, that's really tough. But equally, if you want to get out of it yourself and you dump her, that can be really tough for you as well. It's not easy just because you're the instigator, right? Maybe you still had feelings for her, but there's other reasons why this thing needs to be over, okay? Now, what frequently happens is that as soon as you break up, firstly there's probably initial kind of numbness, initial shock, and then you start to go into a period of what you could call withdrawal. You're withdrawing from the person. It's like withdrawing from a drug, all right? And as with withdrawing from a drug, that can be a very painful process. If you just imagine having a hangover, right? Having a hangover is a very unpleasant experience. Why? Because the alcohol is leaving your system, and that's causing pain in your bodily system, okay? And what's the way that people always say to cure a hangover? It's the hair of the dog. It's having another drink the next day. And it's the same thing really with a relationship when you split up with somebody. You know, because you're feeling that pain, you're feeling that emptiness because you're no longer with her, and you know that the one thing that's going to make you feel better, is to re-engage with her again. And so you go for a few days, you go for a week, couple of weeks, and you're like, okay, right, we split up, I'm getting over this, I'm going to be alpha, I'm going to get on with my life, I'm going to, be that super sovereign dude or whatever. But then those thoughts and feelings come back, you start to miss her, you start to remember all the good things. You never remember the bad things, you start to remember all the good things about the relationship, and you start to crave her, and you decide to reach out. So you reach out to her, okay? And I'm guessing this is what happened in the case of this guy. You reach out to her, okay? And she's amenable to you, all right? She doesn't tell you to fuck off. She'll have the conversation, you're talking, and then she's happy to meet up. You guys meet up, you go for a drink, but she's not committing to anything. All right, she's not committing to anything. And actually, something very similar to this happened to me with my ex. And you could even end up sleeping with her, right? Maybe you guys even start sleeping together. This often happens when couples break up. They sort of meet up, and they end up having sex. And it's because both of them are craving what has been lost. Both of them are craving what's gone. But it still doesn't signify commitment necessarily unless you sit down and have that conversation. And so then you're in this really, really terrible situation where you're really into her, you really like her, you really love her. But there's no incentive, there's no mechanism in place to ensure that she doesn't just leave your ass again or just go off and screw some other guy or whatever, right? She can do what the hell she likes. It's a bad situation. You need to avoid it. So how do you avoid it? Well, the textbook answer to that question is if you have enough abundance, then you're going to care less, and it's, you're less likely to get hung up on this one particular girl, okay? Imagine in a totally hypothetical world that you had every supermodel in the world from the ages of, 20 to 26 or whatever, chasing you down, okay? And they all want to have sex with you. Would you be so cut up over your ex in that situation? Surprisingly, the answer to that is actually moot. I think it would, I suppose having sex with a beautiful model every night is gonna go some way to easing the pain. Would it take it away entirely? Not necessarily, I would say, because you might be meeting other women, but you can't replace her, okay? And I think this is why celebrities, for example, get hung up on certain women. We see examples of this, maybe Will Smith and people like that. There's always that sort of sense of, well, why can't he just go and meet someone else? Well, because he's emotionally invested in this particular woman. So abundance, I think, helps. It doesn't necessarily go all the way. And, I'm just being honest here. That's just how it is. But abundance certainly helps, okay? Because what makes this all the more acute is if you're sitting there in this particular position with this woman, and she's like, yeah, I kind of like you, I'll sleep with you occasionally, but I'm going to the club on Thursday night, then, and you also don't feel that you can meet anybody else, that's a really bad place to be. If at least you know that you've got the tools and the abilities to go and meet somebody else, that's going to make things somewhat more bearable, okay? But I suppose even more than that, what you should really do, here's what you should really do, okay? You guys split up, the relationship ends, you should not now speak to her again. Okay, you should cut it off there. Because the relationship has ended. As soon as the relationship ends, everything changes. Because that night, she could go out and have sex with somebody else, and it would be completely within her right to do so, as a single woman. Okay? So almost as soon as you guys have split up, everything changes, because everything's on the table all of a sudden. So really, what you should do, once you split up, whether you dump her or she dumps you, that should be it. Block, never speak to her again. No exceptions. Instead, what you should do is go out immediately and start meeting new people. Start bringing new people into your life, having new experiences, all right? That's what you should do. And the reason a lot of guys don't do that is firstly because they're very invested in the notion of love and pair bonding and the one, and oh, she was the one, blah, blah, blah. And secondly, they don't have the ability to meet new people or bring new women into their lives. And maybe they don't even think it's possible, all right? They don't know about the skill set. So underlying this is, as underlying really all of these videos, you need to learn social skills. You need to learn this skill set in order to be able to protect yourself somewhat from the vicissitudes of the emotional roller coaster that is modern dating. Now, I'm not going to pretend you're going to protect yourself entirely, because, as I say, feelings are feelings, right? You can't completely eradicate them just because you meet somebody else or you meet some cute girl for a date, whatever. But it's certainly going to help. And it's going to make it less likely you're going to get caught up in this kind of a situation. So you need to get the social skills down, okay? In order to do that, what I want you to do is to join my Telegram group. There's a link below. But more importantly than that, if your dating life is in a difficult spot and you want to make some changes, then I want you to jump on a call with me, absolutely free. Link is below, okay? And we can have a talk and we can work out a strategy for how to help you going forward, okay? So that's my offer to you. Anyway, I hope that this helped. Please put your comments below, and I'll see you guys again very soon. Bye-bye.